Both Ron and I feel Desperate Command is important to tell because it depicts the heartbreak of the brutal battle our brave Marines fought in order to claim victory over Peleliu Island in 1944. The general public does not know much about this significant battle, so our intentions are to educate our audience about this important part of our history. It's important to tell because more than 8,000 U.S. Marines lost their lives fighting this battle, and their sacrifice went unnoticed by the American public due to more celebrated events in both Europe and the Philippines during that time. My father served in World War II in the Pacific Theater in the 1940s, and I remember the many stories he would tell me as a child growing up about his time in the war.
Desperate Command deals with the battle as far as a cinematic theme. In this case, our leader is dealing with not only the war, World War II, and the battle on Peleliu, but he's also dealing with his memories and the incorporation of the war in those same memories. He has it is incorporated itself so deeply in his psyche that now he feels that he's in such a tenable position that he feels like he's got to redeem himself for the mistakes he's made, that maybe his memories will straighten out if he can redeem himself. So in the need for his redemption, he takes it upon himself to try and save somebody that he dislikes, which in his eyes or in his mind is what's going to give him that redemption. Redemption is something that, a person who redeems themselves, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. They've done something wrong. They've done something foul, and they've done something that maybe they think is going to send them to hell. Well, in this case, this is basically what this guy is doing. He's trying to save his own psyche, to get him back, so that when he goes back to see his family, that his life will be forever changed, and he will be the person he wants to be. Peleliu is actually the legend that a lot of people have heard of World War II. Peleliu was one of those situations where it was a horrible place. It was the land was horrible. There was disease. There was the temperatures were in the 110-degree range. These guys were fighting these battles on rocks and coral. They were scraped up. They were just beat up. And they came from a place where they were really in bad shape to begin with. So now they're fighting a battle in that same stuff, that same miserable place. Plus, there was a lot of people that died on Peleliu. This is a 2-mile by 6-mile island, and almost 20,000 people died on that island. For that reason alone, that's part of this myth or this legend that comes from the World War II island battles. Peleliu is also one of those places where the Japanese soldiers came out of the jungle 2.5 years after the war had ended. It's the legend that goes where Japanese soldiers came out of the forest, out of the jungle, 2.5 years after the war had ended. Not the battle, after the war had ended. And having survived, basically stealing from the Marines that were still stationed on that island. But they had finally given up, still thinking that the war was on. They still thought that they were fighting the battle for their emperor. So that's the amazing thing about Peleliu, and that's why I think it's an important story to tell. The thing about Peleliu that's really important to tell is the fact that nobody knew about it during World War II. The English, the battle in Europe was going really well at that point. So these people, the American public did not hear about Peleliu. Plus, MacArthur was heading back towards the Philippines. In fact, before the Battle for Peleliu was finished, MacArthur had already landed on the Philippines. So this is one of those little battles that was huge in the eyes of the world. That should have been huge in the eyes of the world, but it wasn't. Nobody knew about it. It was the first battle where the worst casualty rate for the Marines had ever happened. There was one in Vietnam that was even worse, but this was the first one. So it goes down in the annals of history as the second worst battle, loss of life for the Marines in history. That's why Peleliu. I love the old footage from World War II. I love that handheld camera stuff. My problem with that is it's done to death. I think that so many people have done that in battle. I mean, Steven Spielberg did it to perfection in Saving Private Ryan. There's no reason to do it again. There really isn't. What I want to do is instead, I want to go with something a little more eerie. I want to go with a really smooth handheld camera, as smooth as we can get it. Like I would like to use a Steadicam, but I'm not sure a Steadicam can be that smooth at that low of an angle. I plan on shooting it from a lower angle. But anyway, the important thing with that is that eeriness, the setup of this whole thing, because they're in such a tenable position. These men, the battle they're fighting, that they need to be. It needs to have that sense of juxtaposition towards what they're dealing with. The battle is very real. The battle is very straightforward, and it's very, very tough. But I like the idea of the smooth camera. I'll talk with the DP and I'll talk with the camera operator and see if we can get that to go and see if they like that idea. But we'll see how it works. Well, the most important thing is that we create that sense of eeriness, and that's what I plan on doing, not the handheld camera.
My background consists over 30 years of experience in the film and entertainment business, working mostly as a project manager and producer on a number of older studio classic films and restoring these classics to the original condition for major studios. Both Ron and I have an extensive background in the post-production industry, which is usually the hardest part of making any film. I have worked on films as a production manager for various features and special film projects throughout my career. I've also co-produced and production managed a low-budget horror film titled Blackwater. I have experience in budgeting and scheduling films for principal photography. Compile this experience with my many years in post-production, and I have learned all aspects of the motion picture industry and how films are efficiently made. My goal is to produce a full-length motion pictures after Desperate Command.
I don't want to be known as a filmmaker of all hats. I want to be a director, and I love the idea of directing films, and that's something I've wanted my entire life. What I don't want to be is I don't want to be the writer, director, the producer. I don't want to do all that stuff myself. I have Dave. Dave's an awesome producer. He's going to take really good care of this production and get everything done. But I know that there's going to be times when he's going to need help. So I put myself as co-producer so that I'm not stealing any thunder from Dave, number one. But at the same time, people see me as co-producer think, oh, well, he probably just sat in the office and he was probably the cheerleader. I'd rather people see me as the cheerleader than see me as an actual producer on this project. But there's going to be times when Dave's going to need help, and he's going to have other people that'll probably be helping him. But you know, I'm a half owner of the company, and I really need to be there to help him with everything he's doing. So. Well, the big part about doing a World War II piece was, number one, is we wanted to do something that was complex. We want to do something on our first project. We plan on being filmmakers for a long time. We plan on doing a lot of big feature films, and we've got ourselves scheduled to do those. We have the scripts. We're all ready to go with that kind of stuff. But we wanted to show that we can do it in a small project, especially a period piece. A period piece is a really tough animal, and we wanted to be able to do that first. If we can make a success out of this project, then we can do any short, any full-length film that we decide to do, and we'll have no problems with it.
Short films have become a huge part of the film industry in recent years and are gaining popularity with the festivals and distributors. With the proliferation of digital video, digital intermediate, and a wider array of computer-based editing programs, even amateur filmmakers are able to use any recorder to film their stories for release on venues like YouTube. Though our project is much more complex than the average YouTube production, we feel there is a wide range of markets for a film of this length and quality. Also, we are working with a limited budget. Normally, full-length feature films can cost an upward of $1 million and more. Yes, after completion of this important film, we plan to pledge a portion of any net profits this film earns to nonprofit organizations that support our American veterans who help our brave soldiers, who have bravely fought for this country and are still defending all of us against our enemies worldwide.